You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Real Housewives of New Jersey After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Real Housewives of New Jersey After Show.
Oh, round of applause for a season finale. Bing is for doing, and we are here at AfterBuzz TV doing another wrap-up for the season finale, Season 5, Episode 18 of The Real Housewives of New Jersey. I'm your host, Lauren Leonelli.
Hey guys, I'm Brooke Chavez.
And I'm Grant Rutter. Hello, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Lots to say. I'm really excited.
Man, you guys, this was a different season finale than we normally see, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a little more uplifting, a little more heartfelt. It seemed like they really tied the bow around the entire season. Of course, the first 10 minutes were, a different story.
Yeah.
But since those scenes, they kind of, were kind of setting everything up to end peacefully, almost like putting a period at the end of a sentence. I thought that when the show comes back, it could almost go in a different direction now.
And I think that's what they're probably trying to do, don't you think?
It needs to happen.
I think there are going to be some big changes, and I'm not used to them wrapping up a season this way, all happy and wonderful together. I was telling him earlier how I was hoping that people were mad at each other and hated each other, because then that means at the reunion,
that the reunion's going to be interesting.
We can bring the guns out. But
they always drag and dig up some dirt in the reunion, and I'm sure that will happen. And who knows, because sometimes what we see when a reunion occurs is obviously there's time in between the filming of the last episode and the reunion. So stuff happens in real life. And sometimes you see them in a different spot than where we left them on TV. Like, wasn't it last year where Jacqueline just wasn't there?
Yeah, she left. It was in her contract to be there, but nothing ever really came of that.
And there was some stuff that we didn't see that went on, and they alluded to some stuff. So, things could go down. Plus, things are changing with Joe and Teresa all the time, and they're probably going to go over some things. And who knows if new gossip is going to be drug up about Teresa coming from the Penny and the Johnny thing. Who knows? But, yeah, it was very interesting to see, and I like that they changed it up a little, that, they usually end the season with the fight at the posh event. It's always at a posh event. Why is it? Why is it always at a posh event?
Because apparently it's all Kim D's fault, according to Caroline.
In my opinion, that woman, and I am not a violent person, needs a swift kick in the face.
Well, I was impressed with Caroline that she finally just she called it out, and she totally usually tries to be the peacemaker these days, but she went back to her old ways, as I predicted last week, and she was pissed, and she called it out. She said it like it was.
Yeah.
That woman is at the root of everything. Why can't someone just be like, you look, come here, you need to cut it out?
Let's just break this down for real. What is the big deal about Kim D? Why? It's not like she's seems super fun, or she's got some great house in Hawaii that everyone wants to keep going to or something. She seems like she adds
not that amazing.
She adds zero value. She doesn't seem like a fun person to be around. She's a horrible friend. Has the horrible fashion, and she owns a nasty what do they want to just keep going to her stupid posh store and getting cheap Jersey clothes? I don't understand why any of them are even friends with this woman.
Here's what I heard. It's a little disenchanting, but I heard that this salon that's going to be carrying her clothes is a real salon, but they're really not carrying her clothes. That they wanted to carry that posh fiasco brand over to the finale, so it was kind of like a cover, like a fake, we're gonna carry posh clothes for this episode, and then in real life they're really not there.
So it was just set up to make
it's not really posh
event.
Too. I heard that as a rumor. I don't know if it's true. If someone goes to this place and they haven't clothes.
I was going to say, with Kim D though, if we look back at everything that that's happened in all of these fights or whatnot.
Yeah.
And Caroline's pointing to her, and when you really think about it, is Kim D really at the root of the problem, or is it really truly Teresa, and Kim D is Teresa's
henchman?
Exactly. Go-to who Teresa's able to like have wrapped around her finger, who kind of
well, that's what they said. They said that she can't control. She can control Kim D, but she can't control Penny.
Exactly.
We did not rehearse that, by the way.
Well, I said that last week. And if you read between the lines, that you can see the truth. And Jacqueline mentioned that, but the lines are blurred.
Yes.
When it comes to the point.
I know you want. No, my singing is not good. I love you, Robin Thicke. I digress.
When you read between these blurred lines, you see that they're mentioning the parents. And Teresa wouldn't go around throwing her parents under the bus. So that's where it's like, okay, all right, it started off with Teresa, but somehow it got out of control.
It did. I agree. I think that Teresa, I think that you're right. I think that everyone's speculating, and they even talked about reading between the lines. But I like that they're all sort of in the place where they're like, you know what is the frickin' point at this point? Yeah, Teresa's probably involved. Yeah, we all on this panel, I don't know about you guys at home listening and watching, but I definitely feel like everyone's sort of on that page. Like, people on the show even, they're like, look, she said some things, it snowballed out of control, and now she's sorry. And we just need to say, let's start over. Like, let's just be done. Because there's only so many times you can beat a dead horse. Let's be realistic about the situation. Teresa's never really going to fully admit what she did or said. She kind of apologized. She said, maybe I shouldn't have said those things, or I shouldn't be around those people. I don't know, in my opinion, hanging around with people who are talking bad about somebody is not a good thing to do, but I think she's definitely more involved than just hanging out with these people. She was definitely saying things and feeding information, in my opinion, but I think that in today's world, you can get information very easily, and clearly Johnny and Penny got information about the parents. Like you're saying, that you don't feel that Teresa would feed that information over. Well, they probably got information.
But clearly Kim D would.
Kim D would, or exactly.
So if that's Teresa's best friend, and here she is saying, this is going on with my parents, oh my goodness, and Melissa didn't show up, and Kim D's on the phone to Penny. I mean,
exactly.
Well, what Teresa needs to do, which she'll never do, is sit down with Kim D and read her the riot act, but that'll never happen.
Or just stop hanging out, like I just was saying. What does Kim D... What is she? Is she super fun? Is it a childhood friend? They're not related. Why are you friends with Kim D? She sounds like a piece of
she's not. She's not an upstanding citizen.
I don't understand what she adds to anybody's life. Like, is she? She doesn't even seem fun. She's annoying. She's like. Ugh.
I think she's
I'm not getting you a posh gift card then. I guess that's off the table.
In the city of Franklin Lakes, I guess before all of this started, she might have been one of the like head what's it called?
HBIC
or whatever in Franklin Lakes, because she owned Posh, and she's just like that mean sorority sister that like you can't
mean girl. She's a mean girl.
You can't kick her out of the sorority because she kind of helped found it, but no one really likes her anyway.
We all know people like this.
Exactly.
And they grow up and they don't change, and that's her.
But at the same time, if you're one of those manipulative girls like Teresa, then you keep her on your side as your friend instead of your enemy, because you may need to use her for something at some point. And so that's kind of how she's been used, and she doesn't mind being like the pawn.
She doesn't. Exactly. She likes it,
or the one who's getting in everybody's mix and being a bitch.
It's gross. She's gross. She is a gross person. I am sorry, but she's just gross. Did I mention that I think she's gross?
Yeah,
Who has? Penny still has the worst hair in your opinion, right?
Oh my God.
That I do not get how that woman is involved in hair design, color, cut, whatever. Her hair is horrific. It is.
I'm trying to think who was worse dressed at that event. I mean,
well, we liked Melissa's dress.
Yes. Oh, I love Melissa.
I thought that she looked cute.
I need to comment on that venue. I know it was a salon, but it was terrible. I wouldn't even go in there to get my eyebrows waxed.
Did you see the cheese? Oh my God!
I'm serious.
Did you see the cheesy pictures in the background?
Yeah.
Like the modeling photos of like
on the
two girls that were like, it looked like someone took with their iPhone and then blew it up. It was horrible. Yeah.
And they had like those IKEA mirrors, that you like those big, tall, like the thick, dark frame. I don't know. I mean, if you're gonna if you're gonna even have stage an event there, at least go and like rent some furniture. You know, like they stage a house.
It didn't seem like it was quality.
All of New Jersey's events though are that way in comparison.
You're
in
right.
relation to the other events like Beverly Hills.
Even I feel like that with Atlanta. I feel a lot of the places that they use in Atlanta are kind of like, why are we in a school gym for this event?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, it goes, in my opinion, every time they go into the posh store, it looks like that to me. Just like super.
It looks like a freaking, closet every time.
It looks like a resale shop. It looks like a place you'd go to sell used clothes.
Yeah, it just it's not quality. Kim D's not quality. Everything about her is not classy and cheesy. Her store's the same way. This event was the same way. It's like they need to just be done with dumb Kim D. She's just like...
Well, they can be done with Kim D, but I want Kim G. I actually really enjoyed her because she was such a mess and she was so hungry for camera time.
She is like, I can't even indulge on her. She's
What's the phrase that Andy plays every single time about Kim G?
How
are you?
How are you?
That's what I think of every time I hear her.
Yep.
Oh, I love Andy.
I know so many Kim G's from where I'm from in Rhode Island,
really?
So I can relate. Yeah, I enjoy her.
Like, wait, what do you mean? Like women like her, or people with the actual name Kim G?
No, people like her. People are just so hungry.
Kim G, really? Yeah, well, and that's how, and I feel like that's kind of how Penny is. Penny is like a little mini her. She wants some attention, but she got roped into something that, she probably spun out of control in her mind as well, and then her husband got involved, which was so weird.
What I have to ask is about John the Greek.
Yeah.
You're a male, and why are you in the middle of this Twitter war with all of these girls?
He should be embarrassed.
Clearly, but it's just so sad. And I was so disappointed by the fact that we didn't get to see the actual physical brawl.
Let's talk about this.
Joe and John.
Okay,
what happened?
So we're at this dumb posh event where the clothes are really nice and classy and made good quality.
All right, we get it. You hate it.
I'm just saying.
I know. I agree with you.
And this is normally how these seasons end. We build up to this point, and then the fight happens, and then we're like, what? We can't wait for the reunion. Well, they started the episode off this way. So we see, and we did mention this, and I don't know, again, if you guys, the viewers that are watching and listening, agree with us, but we kind of felt like this season was a lot of like, let's talk about something a lot, and then when the actual action happens, it's like for 1 minute of the episode, and then they talk about it for the rest of it. So that was the same thing here, and it was a little anticlimactic in my opinion, because that part was exciting, but then the rest of the episode was like you said, like wrapping it up like a pretty little present, and so that was a little disappointing in my opinion. But we did not, the other disappointing things that we're touching on is that we didn't get to see the fight, and I know that sounds like bad, like wanting to watch like a bad train wreck or something, but it's like you kind of wanted to see. Plus there was so much build up to like people confronting these two who are bashing, Jacqueline and her son on Twitter and Melissa. So we were all kind of like wanting to know how they were going to handle it, but this fight breaks out and we don't see any of it.
See, I was wondering if it was even going to be real, if that really did go down, but the reactions, and these people are not actors, so the reactions were pretty real. Something went down, but I'm wondering why they cut away.
I'm thinking that Bravo probably doesn't want to be liable for having on camera like people hitting one another, especially people that are under contract like Giudice-Gorga is for them, potentially hitting John the Greek. But I just followed John the Greek not too long ago. I was telling her to read his Twitter feed, and he followed me back. So if you're watching this, let us know if Joe hit you and how it felt.
Yeah.
Because we won.
Right. No, you know what? I bet you're probably right about that, Brooke, because I think that there's probably, you can sue somebody for whatever,
and it's happened
being hit or whatever. So they're probably not, maybe somebody's pressing charges and they're not allowed to show any of it.
That could be it.
Because there's 100% footage of that caught on tape. I mean, they just didn't show. They've got more than one camera in those scenes, so they just didn't use that footage.
Yeah, they purposely chose not to.
Do you think it could also be that Bravo is trying to be a little bit more highbrow than maybe something like a VH1 where they just show everyone clawing everyone's
like
hair
Bad Girls Club?
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, I would like to think that, but I think, like you said, there's probably something like a lawsuit.
They showed Joe and Joe like straight on take each other down, tackle each other.
That I feel like though they couldn't not show, but just because.
It was so like It was a turning point in the story.
It was a turning point in the story.
Essential to understanding the story.
Yeah, I think, but yeah, I do think, in my opinion, and I've said this before, New York got really gross. The Real Housewives of New York got really bad. And, you know, when Bethany left and when Jill left and when all that started happening, like they were just starving to make that show not so, I mean, those reunion shows were like, whoa. Like, I've never seen worse reunion shows than the New York, I think. And I think those women just got nasty, and it disgusted people. And so I think, yes, there might be some legal reasons why they didn't show the fight, but I also feel like Bravo's being very specific with this season and all of the retreats they're sending them on and all the therapy. They're trying really hard to not let it get that gross.
But they've always been physical. I mean, Teresa started they've always been season out like throwing tables.
They're watching the balance of the show, and there was an article that came up before the season began how this was going to be a feel of season 1 where there was going to be like fun and like shopping, and then there was going to be like dramatic moments and twists and turns. So it was, I mean, we mentioned this before that we found this season to be very overproduced, and so it's just part of the
That's what I'm
production.
saying. I feel like this season was very overproduced, and what, in my opinion, they were trying to do is not let it get to that disgusting point that New York got to, because it could have. The birthday for Melissa, like that clearly wasn't Joe's idea.
I still want to go on that trip.
Too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, she didn't even want to be there. It was kind of a boring episode, but it was also just because I really feel like they're trying to take them in the like, let's not be so nasty to each other direction, which may be another reason why they didn't choose to show the posh fight, because it's just getting really out of control.
When you speak of New York, are you, just for clarification, do you mean like when Kelly Ben-Simone and they were fighting in that way?
I mean,
when it was getting out of control in that sense? I mean, when the last one that Bethany was on?
I feel I'm specifically talking about when Bethany left. It was that last season with Bethany and Jill, and then they had that reunion show, and it was just like, I mean, Andy Cohen couldn't even get a word in edgewise half the time. They were just like, all you were listening to was the whole time. No, you couldn't even, 50% of the stuff you couldn't understand. They were screaming over each other. And I remember watching it feeling like a little infuriated. Like, I like the drama. I know that's why people watch these shows. But it was almost like giving me anxiety. It was like, women, just take a Xanax or something.
I missed out. I can't get into the New York ones, and I definitely cannot get into the Miami Housewives.
Well, I'll just say this. They all get pretty nasty in the reunion shows, but it was like beyond. In my opinion, it was like, I almost questioned for a second, like, I don't know if I can watch this show. Like, this is really, it's just gross.
Well, that's where it reaches the line of a show like what would be on VH1.
That's what I'm saying.
Which is a little bit more
that's a whole
ratchet.
Other story. That's like a constant, like, physical.
How else can I say it but ratchet? I mean, there's a line. There's like a line. They're getting close.
So okay, so you know we see this posh event, and now all of a sudden everybody's like, let's talk about it. Everybody come over. We're gonna cut some salami, and we're gonna talk about what happened.
Did you see the food on those counters and those homes? I mean, there's not that much out on holidays. That was ridiculous. It was like fine cheese, like stuff you get for like, you know, like a christening. I don't know.
Well,
that's the way the New Jersey girls do it.
That's the way the Italian Jersey girls do it.
Exactly.
They just talked a lot about how they felt about it. We already touched on them all talking about how they feel like Teresa's involved. And they're going to kind of let it go, but, you know, and everyone's trying to be kumbaya, let's talk about it. But in the midst of all this happening, they're setting up this, there's a BLK event, and we're talking about the new flavors that, you know, BLK is coming out with. Why don't you and Joe talk there?
Another contrived event.
Exactly.
Like that was, they were like sitting in some old office building with like, you know, it was just so false and so contrived. And it wasn't even, I mean, like 2 minutes of them like taste testing things. It was so set up. Just maybe something better got canceled. I don't know. That was kind of like lame for the final episode.
I know.
Very lame.
I just feel like Joe and Teresa's feud needs to be over already. Like,
people are getting over it.
needs to be done with too. Like, Black Water's not gonna happen. I'm sorry, guys. Like, go to something else. You should have made black wine, I think. Like something with alcohol in it instead.
That was good.
That'll sell instead.
Or black vodka or something.
Exactly.
With the machine, with the machine that is the Real Housewives franchise, if they couldn't push it off like 2 years ago and launch it by then, then it's not gonna happen. I mean, you know, go and do another venture.
And it's the same way that we're tired of hearing about like Teresa and Joe already. I mean, this is the third season, I guess, that like this is
It
played
can't
out.
be-
Like
yeah.
they're even the producers are realizing we got to be done with this.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what's happening.
We got to be done
Yep.
with this. Let's have Teresa, even though we can't convince her to confess, let's have her give a semi-confession to Joe, which is what she does.
Right.
So we can just, like you said, wrap it up in a bow and move the F on.
See, all right.
Just to interject for a second, they're clearly making changes anyway, because in the midst of all of this, okay, we had this posh event, now let's talk about it and try and get Teresa and Joe together again, Kumbaya Central. We also see Caroline. They insert this little section of Caroline like walking through the house and then like replaying old footage of like her kids running down the stairs and having a food fight in the kitchen and like looking at old pictures. So we're all going, is Caroline leaving the show?
It reminded me of that scene when Gina Keogh was in her kitchen and when contract negotiations went south, but that wasn't like in the storyline, of course.
At the Housewives of Orange County.
Yeah, she was like 3/4 of the way into the season, and then she had like memories of her kids in that kitchen, and then she hit the light, and we did see her again, but she wasn't a housewife after that. And so it was all like that, like kind of like sepia tone, like flashbacks, and then we saw all this. And I remember you were like, "Where is this going?
Yeah.
Where is this going?" And then it was to close up the story, the gap that they were having that apartment in Hoboken, of course, and you know.
I felt like they were, but I still think that, and we'll touch on this in the news and gossip, I still think that that portion of the story is on its way out. And I think that was a nice way to remember Caroline, and she's been on the show since the beginning, and I feel like they were definitely tying that up nicely as well as its own little thing, because Caroline has been very separate this season. So I felt like they couldn't kind of not address her pulling back and having her own. I mean, she is very like, my family cannot be involved with this anymore. Even at the posh event, she was like, get my family out of here. So I feel like, you know, the fact that she's pulled back, the viewers notice it. They needed to wrap her story up a little bit separately, and that's what they did. But I think they were kind of trying to make you feel like she was like leaving the show.
And then at the end, there's more motive behind it from what we know in terms of.
For sure. So that was interesting. And then we also, if we remember, the beginning of the season opened with the Hurricane Sandy wreckage on the Jersey Shore, and them all coming to their homes on the shore and seeing the damage that had happened. And then it didn't say like 6 months before or something.
6 months after the storm. Well, in this episode.
Well, no, yes, but in the first episode, when the season opened, they saw the damage from their homes, and then it said like 6 months earlier, and then it started, right? Isn't that what they did? They like showed them in where we ended up, and then they said like 6 months prior or earlier, and they flash back to what we saw as the season. So we just came full circle again, wrapped up in a pretty little present, like you said, Grant, and we're back at the shore, and they're, you know, talking about everything. But obviously before that, you know, Teresa and Joe got to talking. And what did you think about them both getting so emotional? And I know we've seen that before, but this felt like there was so much they were saying without even speaking. Like when Teresa started crying, and we've seen them cry in therapy, we've seen Joe cry. This felt like heavy. You know what I mean?
This felt like I think that they were finally done. I mean, Teresa didn't so much as truly confess, but he knew, and everyone was reading between the lines that she was finally saying.
And he even said, you know, she said, I'm sorry that I got involved with these people, and he even said, look, I make mistakes too.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like even though they didn't say it completely, like they finally like pulled up their white flags and they like laid everything out there, and like, you know, I felt like it was really genuine, and hopefully it will truly be done and over with.
On that point, I didn't really take to the scene that much. I was really taken out of it because she said to him, she said, maybe I do regret things I said. But the shot, the shot was on it was on Joe.
Oh.
And that was the same soundbite she used earlier when she was talking to Jacqueline about how she was warming up to the fact that she made these mistakes.
That's interesting. Grant did point that out. He said, I feel like she's not really saying this right now.
No, well, the audio, if you go back, the audio was a different, it wasn't matching what was in the scene. It was more like almost like if you take a sound bite and you kind of just move it down, if you're editing or whatever, if you move a sound bite over another clip. And so that's what took me out of it. Now, after that, she did, they did genuinely, hug each other and have a moment. So it was a good scene. But I mean, if the whole episode is her, like, going to admit something, and then we're pulling in an old audio clip. I mean,
which is what you really feel like they did.
In that point, but she did. Did she say I apologize though?
Yeah,
I believe I saw that come out of her mouth.
She did.
So that did happen.
But she never said. She never said that. She never said I am the one who put them up to saying those things.
Yeah.
And
she
she
actually
never
specifically
will.
said I never put them up to that. She's like they were saying these horrible things about Melissa, and I was upset at her at the time. So I was listening and was happy to hear that because when you're mad at someone, you want to hear someone talk bad about them. But she never said I put them up to it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to point out something else. We all know that and we find out about it further later, that Teresa and Joe are going through this huge legal fiasco. And I think that, and this whole, everything going down with them with that happened probably in the middle of the season. And I think the reason that this is starting to fizzle out is because everyone is realizing, hey, there's some major issues going on right now with Joe and Teresa.
Yep.
This is such a
trivial,
small, stupid little thing to be worrying about. I mean, they could lose their kids. They could go to jail for who knows how long. Joe could be deported. Like, we got to let this go. I mean, this is major.
Exactly.
It does make the show seem silly.
So,
it does.
And I think
That's
they're
right.
even realizing that. I think Joe and Teresa are looking at each other like, God, I want to hug you and hold you because, I mean, I could potentially lose you for years.
Exactly.
Like, we got to, we got to throw this away.
That's another good point, too. And I feel like that for sure, that problem, the big problem with Teresa and Joe trivializes the idea of the show and the stupid stuff that they fight over. So that's another reason why they're definitely choosing to move on from this, even though I feel like they don't. I feel like they're definitely being pushed down that let's move on from this road. I think they're done with it too, but they're being pushed by the producers as well. And again, we saw it every single time they could. They're being sent off on these getaways and these therapy sessions and whatever, and it's like, dude, you guys are really trying to get to them to work this problem out, huh? Do you feel guilty that you kind of like threw them in this fishbowl and all these problems happen, or are you trying to save the show? I mean, there's probably a bunch of different reasons why.
How many therapists were on this season?
I liked Dr. V, by the way.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
I love her.
I still say, though, this show should have introduced somebody new to start the process of refocusing and regrouping, because now these producers and Bravo has to hit the reset button on the show, and people don't like change, and that could really backfire on them. This is one of their top-rated franchise, in the franchise, New Jersey.
I think Jersey's the best one.
Yeah, so now they really have to take a gamble where they could have maybe tread a little bit more lightly.
Yeah.
They need someone younger and a little more fun, someone uplifting, someone who's gonna, I don't know, take it more like down the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
So that we're excited and want to see something. I don't know. It just seems it's gotten so dark.
Yeah.
And the man, it's just.
I think the show should find someone like Teresa season 1, when she was had little kids and she just spent money and she didn't know what the hell was going on.
New boobs and
yeah, that's what they
happy
need.
life.
Happy wife.
Yeah.
Happy life.
That's actually Melissa's saying.
Teresa said it first.
Oh, she did? Oh, snap.
Teresa said it first.
Those two are a lot more alike than they'd like to admit.
Oh, they're the same people.
So while everyone's making up on this show and the edges are being softened, it's not so gross and dagger, everyone's releasing their anger. We have Melissa, who still doesn't seem to me to be really committed to anything. She's just kind of still hanging out. She almost feels like, I always relate her as a 16-year-old girl. But to me, she feels she's at these events, and she was at that house, the Shore house in those final scenes, and she was sitting there in her glasses and her little denim coat. She really reminded me of someone who went to a family event.
Her Tom Ford glasses that are so out of style right now. Okay, those are so 5 years ago.
But she reminded me of a teenage girl who was at a family party and was just kind of waiting for this to be over. Yep.
And we didn't rehearse that either.
No.
We're all on the same page here.
Pretty much.
No, I completely agree. Melissa has been taken out of it. Plus, she's also we've seen her trying to focus on her music career, and she's got this book and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, she does definitely seem a little bit like Caroline. She would just like to she's not really in any of it. She's definitely disconnected a little. And I don't know if it's her trying to protect herself and put up walls because she's whoa, this is getting a little too much. Or if she's just who knows? Maybe
we talked about it when we were watching the show, where we all said, like, Teresa's done so much stuff and, like, lied about so much. There's, like, so much to think about in the ways that she's just done everyone wrong. I think everyone's at the point where it's, like, too exhausting to, like, arbor any resentment towards her anymore.
Yeah,
so you're just like, okay, you know what? I can't even remember half of the crap you've done to me. So let's just be friends, girl, and, like, call it a day.
Right, just give up.
Yeah.
I feel like if we looked back and, like, found, like, lost footage, like, go online and, like, look back at every single thing. I mean, there's probably, like, so many daggers that have been thrown on her behalf.
Oh, so
I mean,
many.
it would be like a laundry list. And while you're online looking up all of those crazy Teresa daggers, you can go onto iTunes and rate and comment and tell a friend and keep the conversation going. We are here talking about this show because we know you guys are super fans, and we are too. And you finish watching the show and you're like, I need more. So this is what we do for you guys, and we love hearing what you have to say. And if you tell your friends, and you can talk about it with your friends too. And while you're on iTunes, feel free to grab yourself a copy of Serial Buddies. It is a fantastic comedy starring Maria Menounos. We've got Henry Winkler as the voiceover narrator for the whole movie. It's super funny. It's a little dark. If you like some darkness, like from the Housewives, throwing some shade, there's a little dark comedy going in there too. And the holidays are coming up. Buy some, give them to your, birthdays, Christmas. Pass them out to your friends. Share the love, share the wealth. We're here for you guys, and we love that you guys watch and listen. And thank you so much. And 5 stars would be great if you can rate. Just throwing that out there too, right? Right.
For sure.
All right.
So yeah, they wrap up this season at the end and I knew it was coming too. They were all sitting around the table, and then they do the still shot, and they say they tricked us with all of them. They're like, especially like Caroline. They were like Caroline and
Albert
were calling it quits. It was like, really? And then they're like on their Hoboken apartment. So
I mean, I would be like, if I was Caroline, I'd be like giving them the side eye. Like, really? Like, that's so not classy. That's so like, not so unnecessary. I'm sure she understands that it's a TV show, and that this is probably not the first thing that was made up or slanted in the opposite direction. But I'd be kind of pissed about that.
You don't like that they tricked that?
They've done that in the past.
And then they made it sound like Jacqueline was having another baby,
right? Or adding an addition.
I know, and I was
happy about a new addition.
Wait a second.
Well, I thought they were going to say she was getting another dog, and I was like, oh, I don't need to know this.
That dog is real cute. Her dog.
Oh, Santino.
He's so cute.
He's so cute. I want to squish his face off.
Instead, they're just getting their child back.
And they're having Ashley back. So we know that that's going to be a little bit...
But only for a little while, because then they said she's starting beauty school in LA. And she was on Watch What Happens Live recently, and she's still in LA.
Right. And she looks great, I think.
She looks great, yeah.
So Melissa, what was Melissa's? Melissa's was that they sold their house and that they're going to have family dinners
Every
soon.
Sunday.
Someday. Yeah. Which kind of leads you to believe, yes, they tried to make us feel like they were all, happy-go-lucky, but
that's like the perfect description for Melissa, because she's like, oh, we're gonna have you guys over, we're gonna have dinner, but is it ever really gonna happen, and why?
Yeah, and we hope that nobody, like we said, we hope that she doesn't bring cookies over that are the wrong type of cookies that Teresa's gonna throw away. And also at the party, we liked the signage for Teresa's
the
wine.
Fabellini. It was like she had it was like a
Hawk it till the end, honey, right?
Yeah, right.
Till the end.
I mean, it's like it was like a banner that you have made.
It was like a step and repeat. It was like a step and repeat size banner
hanging in her. But if you noticed, it was facing the water, so that way anyone going by in a boat could say, "That's the Giudice house." And
I'm sure they know that anyway.
There you go.
Shameless plugs. Oh, isn't it great? We saw Jacqueline. Ashley's coming back for Jacqueline. Caroline is...
Kathy and Rich are getting a new house.
That's right. That's going to be interesting to see.
Why would they want to be bothered building a whole house at their
Because
age?
they got to keep up with the...
They're having they got to keep up with everybody. And also, I feel like Kathy's just coming into her own.
Exactly.
They're getting a lot of money. And
they have that Real Housewives money now.
They've got,
the cannoli money.
The cannoli money. They've got the new cars and the plastic surgery. They're like, step it up. They got to build a big house.
Well, for what I'm hearing, they should be saving. I don't know how much longer the housewife money are going to coming in.
Well, then this lovely episode ended with, all of the new news on Teresa and Joe, on Matt Lauer talking about them and all the indictments, that pages this thick of everything.
counts, federal charges.
And so we're obviously, we're all still waiting to hear what happens with that, but that's how they kind of ended it. They wrapped it up with Teresa and Joe saying, hey, we're going to stick together. I'm going to fight till the end. And it was kind of nice to see, and we've talked about this too, and Brooke, you even mentioned it, like, they're really, he was looked at very in like such a villainous light before, and now I think that he feels like, shoot, nobody really likes me. I gotta be a little bit nicer, and he was so much nicer this season.
Well,
we see a much better side of Joe.
Where he was last season, there was nowhere but up.
I know, I agree.
But how can you be mean when you're like facing?
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
I think he feels like, shoot, I gotta step it up a little. I look like a horrible person, and this is gonna affect maybe the outcome of the court. It might a little.
Possibly,
you don't know.
When you're like down and out, like really down and out, you're like, you turn on a different face. You want to be positive. You're praying to God,
and hopefully he's reflecting, and it's genuine, and it's not just like, I gotta make myself look good. Hopefully he's like, oh man, I made some big mistakes in my life.
For this hearing, or this trial they're going to be having, they viewed all the footage that was taken this whole time.
That's what I'm saying.
So
that's what I'm saying. I feel like it can affect.
That's true.
So yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm just thinking about one of the first episodes. It was the first pilot episode where Teresa goes in and buys furniture, and it's like $195,000 in straight up cash.
Yeah.
Like, I bet you she's regretting that now.
She made a comment that she said, "Oh, that was just for the cameras. No one carries that money around. Like, that was just for fun." And I'm like, I don't know
about that.
I remember, I hear the economy's crashing, so I carry cash.
I love your rendition of it.
Can't really help things, honey.
It can't. So we will see, and we will all be tuning in and patiently awaiting to see what happens in real time with this court case. But they kind of wrapped it up. It ended differently than most seasons. It was a little happier. It's going to be interesting to see where they're going to go with the reunion. I'm sure they're going to drag some stuff in there, but it ended much happier than we've seen in the past, and it was a nice change. And I think they're bringing in some, they're closing some doors and getting ready to open some new ones and bring in possible new characters. So why don't we get into some news and gossip?
AfterBuzz TV News.
Speaking of bringing in new characters, we have some news about Caroline leaving and bringing Dina back in, I hear.
This is a rumor. This is something that I was watching Wendy Williams, and she was alleging that this woman, they were going to bring in a new housewife, but we would not see her kids, we would not see her husband, and we would not see her house. And she would be floating from party to party, and kind of mirrored something that I heard over
and so
here.
I was reading Twitter, and I can't remember who wrote it. I just remember reading that Dina would be coming back, and that Caroline would be leaving, and that Caroline was also going to get her own spin-off show. And I really love you, Caroline, but I just can't imagine what I would want to watch just about Caroline on a spin-off show.
Saying.
I agree.
Yeah.
Or her kids, to be honest with you.
Well, that sounds like Dina, because remember, Dina, we didn't see much of her house. We never saw the husband, and I believe the husband had a problem with the daughter being on the show. So
yeah, specifically, the husband did say that Lexi could not be on the show. He did not sign off on it, and she still put her on the first season, and that's why Caroline was so upset at why can't I think of her name?
Danielle Staub.
Danielle Staub.
Okay, yes.
Because Danielle was going back to the ex and saying, your daughter's on the show, and trying to like
stir the pot,
and actually get custody taken away from Dina.
Gross.
It's so gross.
Yeah,
and so it definitely could be Dina if Lexi can't be on, and then her husband wasn't on that first season.
We never saw him.
Well,
we never saw him, so
we shall
definitely
see.
unresolved business. Yeah, there's unresolved business.
Yeah, and people kind of wonder about what that drama is and why they don't talk to her too. So maybe bringing that back in might be like the new family drama we can fix on this episode or this season.
We found out too that Chris, was that his name? Chris
Larita.
Yeah.
Larita, yeah. That he doesn't talk to Dina either. He mentioned that
that's what I'm saying. So
I'm like,
we need to see where this is going to go, and this could be a good addition.
Also on Wendy Williams, she was talking about, she got from some gossip site, and forgive me, I can't remember, but she's saying that Caroline is going to be taking a break to do this pilot, which is ridiculous, because they're shooting the pilot. They could do that in like a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But, I don't know how true this is. I believe it was Rumor Fix that came up with these rumors, and supposedly Kathy is out, and Jacqueline is supposedly out as well. I can understand Caroline being done for good.
Right.
And supposedly Kathy's going to be a friend of the Housewives, which she always should have been.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying, don't build that house too big.
Yeah, right. Be careful with that.
So mean.
Well, we will be we will be waiting to see what all plays out with this. And let's get into some quick predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Those flashing lights are so ominous. Okay, so let's do some quick predictions. We have the reunion shows coming up next. I am going to predict that they're going to announce like Dina coming in or something like that, and maybe even bring her in and see how that might go with Caroline being there, if there's any weird tension or anything like that. That's what I predict.
I predict that this reunion is going to be more peaceful than not. Yeah, I believe there'll be a few beats that they'll play, or someone will get angry, but we're not going to see like anybody. I don't think we're going to see anybody yelling.
We're not going to see Rosie saying she's going to cut somebody's tongue out of their mouth.
Yeah, I think it'll be, they'll touch on certain points, but I think it's going to be more of a recap than anything else. And it's not going to get too crazy. Yeah. Unless if they bring Kim D in. Oh, geez. And then they can just they'll just all go.
Yeah. Well,
and if she's stupid enough to attend, then go ahead.
Yeah, right. She would be. She would be stupid enough. What about you?
All she would want in life. I also predict that it'll be a little more peaceful given Teresa's legal fiasco, but I also predict that there was so much he said, she said via text or Twitter or whatever. I think that a lot of people are going to hopefully come with some evidence, like, I screenshot this and here's what you did say, or here's what so-and-so said. So like Teresa said, show me the texts.
Show me the texts.
Where are the texts? You don't keep your texts. What a coinky-dink.
Somebody always brings emails or files or documents. It's going to happen. Someone will bring the texts. Okay, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in and listening and watching, sticking with us through the season. And we'll be back next season too, but don't tune out yet because we've got some reunion shows coming up. So make sure you tune in next week for those. I am your host, Lauren Leonelli. You can find me at Lauren Leonelli on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and my website.
And I'm Brooke Chavez. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Brooke Chavez LA.
And I am also on Twitter and Instagram at Grant Michael R.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. See you next week for the reunion.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.